Good morning. Thank you for everybody who's joining the ModernApps SRE live call this morning. I'm Art, I'm one of the maintainers of the community. Peg also is on the call, and she's another one of the maintainers. We have a lot of folks who are experts, like folks like Chris Little from VMware support. I'm going to call you out, Chris, because Chris has been a very, very active contributor to the community for several years now. A great super knowledgeable about all things Tanzu as well. And thanks everybody else for joining and dialing in. The purpose of this call is with the Modern Apps community. We do host a number of traditional educational content, from lab guides to courses. But what is, I think, really unique about the program is that and every time you have a piece of content, every time or a course, you're learning all these new things. The classroom environments, they're wonderful. We have to have a place to start where we can get a lab environment that we can play with and we can break things. But lab environments in the classroom environments are always limited. They're never, there's really, really big gaps between what you find in any classroom environment and the complexities of real world environments. And especially when there's a lot of change going on, it's brutally difficult to go and I'm going to learn everything about application modernization, particularly if you're coming from an environment where a lot of this is new. And frankly, no matter who you are, there's a lot of new stuff happening every day. And so there's a lot of new things. We've got to go learn those new things in the context of a classroom and then go bring them into the real world, whether we operate platforms and production environments for an IT department, whether we go and we're communicating our expertise. So if maybe you might be working pre-sales or another engineering capacity where you're a consultant, you've got to go and lead people through real world implementations of these new technologies. And so how do we bridge the gap between the more limited environments that we find in the classroom and the real world? And that's what we hope to bring with the Modern Apps Learning Platform, where every course, every tutorial, every guide and event and all the things that we provide when you register for the community, when you enroll in a course and take a test, we create the platform, we build the platform, we manage the platform together as a community in something like this, the Modern Apps DevOps style. We do make it a very beginner-friendly approach, and so we're implementing modern practices, but we do it in a way that is hopefully very welcoming to people who are new to these ideas and technologies. And so I will go ahead, and I also should mention these calls are intended to be fully collaborative. So I usually go through things that we're working on in the community, projects, planning, and different things that need to come up in relation to how we manage the community and how we build new feature requests and so on for the platforms. So I'll go through that stuff, and this is a collaborative call for multiple reasons. One is if you have any questions, why we're doing anything, anything that you can learn, that's what we're here for. The other thing is that this is a complex area of technology with a lot of different areas of expertise. I have certain things I'm better at, worse at. I'm fairly broad. I'm not the guru at anything. And so one of the benefits of coming together as a community is that we have a lot of experts on the call. And so if you see me doing something and be like, hey, I've got an idea or suggestion, or here's a way that we might be able to do that better, that's another great opportunity for us to work together collaboratively on this. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And if anybody does have any questions or comments, feel free to type in chat or unmute. And if I am talking, don't hesitate to interrupt me. Want to keep it collaborative. Okay, so let me share my screen. There we go. Will let me. Okay, actually get the right window open up. I have that window up because I was recording. And we'll start off here at the homepage. So if you're in the GitHub Modern Apps Ninja organization, we'll go to the homepage is the modernappsninja.github.io repository. And again, this is the content that feeds the homepage when you go to modernapps.ninja. And we're currently using this as our primary issue ticket centralization a place where we do some project planning. Over time, we're going to adjust a little bit about, create some dedicated repositories for handling certain types of issue tickets and project tasks. But as currently we are doing it on the homepage repository. And so let's go ahead and start off by reviewing where we stand on some issues and projects. If you were on the call last week, you didn't need to be. I'll make sure we cover everything. We talked about one of the probably the biggest outstanding issue right now is the Modern Apps Skills 101 course. I neglected it for a long time because I didn't realize people were taking it. And then I looked at the analytics data and I realized it was actually quite popular. And so if you've taken that at a point where it was not working right, or if the information wasn't current, I apologize. I was focusing on what I thought were the more popular courses, and a good reminder of why it's important to pay attention to your analytics. So the Modern Apps, let's go back to the homepage. So the course I'm referring to here is Modern Apps Skills 101. So one of the things I did, so I found out that there were some issues with automated features in this course. And so I needed to get in and repair those. There are some things that I didn't set up properly, some oversights from when I published this course. And at the same time, when I moved this course over to the new platform and published it because it was previously on our older edX platform, now it's hosted on the GitHub platform. When I did that, I been intended to refresh it for all the new things. And I thought, well, people are taking the course anyways. I might as well move it over first, even if the content is a little bit outdated. At least it'll be on the new platform. But now that when I found that the other issues with it, I decided I'm just going to redo the entire thing. And I thought I was going to have it done already. And as things go, this is not my only obligation for work and life. And the past week or two, I've just had a lot of different distractions, and we've not been able to finish the updates for this yet. But I am quite close. So the updates I've done offline. So one thing I was going through with Peg last week is when you do go through, anytime you're making contributions to any type of repository for a project, whether it's the Modern Apps repositories, whether it's maybe a project that you're working on in a private corporate environment, or contributing to another open source project, you always want to keep your commitments small, right? And you may have a single document you're building out, and you might write a chunk of that document before. But if you're going to be working with over a period of time, several hours or days potentially on anything, if you're going to be touching multiple different files when you're making edits or updates to a repository, you want to keep those in small chunks, and then update if you're working with GitHub, update the GitHub central repository on a regular basis. So there may be other people working on the repository, and you want to make sure that your files stay in sync. Now, when I started working on this course, I was engaging in bad habits that I did. I did a lot of not following proper process when I was getting this platform initially off the ground. It was just such a diving catch to try to get the initial features off. I was doing a lot of it myself, so I deviated outside of standard process, and I did that when I was updating this course. And as a result, ended up having a lot of changes that are here locally on my local system that are not I can't push up easily because they're not finished. I didn't put them on a separate branch. I didn't put them on a separate fork. And if I were to, they're so intrusive. If I would replace them now, it would be a bunch of things that are very much not finished. Like right now, we may have some outdated material, but at least there's a complete set of content. And so hopefully, using myself as an example of what not to do, just highlight this again, as now I have this is my local build of updated course content, and you can see that the whole navigation is totally different. And there's I think a much more modernized and refreshed content that I've got built out on my local client. And so like I said, I hate making commitments for only the reason that I oftentimes get distracted. But I do believe very confident that barring any huge unexpected thing that might happen today, I do expect to have this course completely finished and updated on the site by later today. And when I do so, I will post a message to our GitHub members team discussion board. So everybody should get notified when that new content is available. I'll probably also post a message to the email list, because there are, we do have a number of still currently active participants that are registered on the edX system that haven't yet fully registered, or maybe prefer to use the email distribution through Google Groups. So I'll send out an email just once I get this updated as well. Okay, so one thing I'll mention. So last week we talked a little bit about how to, if you want to make local edits to content from your local workstation. And so why would I do that? One thing I didn't, that not everybody may have caught last week, is a little bit more, that's a little bit more of advanced of a topic, right? It's a very normal topic if you've used GitHub and get a fair amount to clone down a repository, to fork a repository, et cetera. So that way you can use powerful editing tools on your local workstation to make edits. I want to make it clear though, that you don't need to do that downloading stuff, right? You can do so much just right within the browser, right? So if I want to make edits to this page, I don't need to think about manually forking and cloning and downloading to my workstation. All that I need to think about, if that's new, it may be something you want to get used to over time, right? But all that you need to think about if you're making an edit to a page, you see the page, you click the edit this page button, right? And it's going to tell you right away. In this case, I'm logged into this browser with my new client that's not a member yet, because I was getting ready to record a video for that. But it may just automatically fork it for you. It may give you this link that says fork repository. But ultimately, when you're going through the browser, you don't even really need to think about what a fork is. You just click, click, click. You see the web editor, you submit your edits, and you don't have to think about the complexity. And that's an important thing. Like, as much as it is good to understand how everything works under the scenes with Git, it's more important to be able to get started and to be able to work in an environment. Because one thing, again, when you're working on a project where you're doing agile and DevOps, if that's a new thing for you, if there's a version control system like Git, and you're participating, that you might be a developer, you might be an infrastructure person. If you're going down that path as a company, you're not going to be in that scenario as if you're new to Git. No one is going to put you in charge of designing all the Git stuff of how you check in and when you check in, what exactly happens, where do you check in, how do you organize your repository. If you start to if you're interested in, you haven't worked on Agile and DevOps projects yet, and you're starting to go down that path, even if it's new to your organization, I don't think there's going to be any organization anywhere that's going to put somebody in a position of, we've never done any of this stuff before. We don't know how Git works. Now, you, person who's never done it before, you're going to do everything on your own and go put it into production. That's not something that, I wish to say that nobody ever encountered that, but fortunately that's a rare thing to encounter. And so what you really need to do, Lauren, when you're getting started, is, why am I participating in this, and how can I contribute meaningfully, right? And if you're coming from an infrastructure perspective, you're likely doing things that you've already done before in the past. You're creating a bash script, a PowerShell script, Puppet or Chef or something, right? And you may have in the past saved those in a hard drive or on a file share somewhere. And if you have, as you get to more modern ways of doing things, and particularly automating infrastructure and things like that, the using Git repositories is just such tremendous advantages. It's a great thing to learn how to do, how to check in your files, and you'll need to participate in as the projects you're working on gain more maturity for these modern approaches. You'll see a lot more use of this, whether you're a developer or whether you're an infrastructure person. So there's a lot of advantages to using these systems. So you need to learn how to check in your configuration file or check in your code. You don't need to know more than that at the beginning. And what makes learning about Git dramatically easier is going one step at a time. When you start, like we've had just so many people come and make dozens and dozens of contribution, have thousands and thousands of line of people who've contributed text or code or improved content and things with these guides, and they make lots and lots of commitments all through this simple web-based. I can click, use the web editor, submit. I don't have to. You may not have to really know much about forking and cloning and all that, and you can still really be a fully active and meaningful. Like if you're an infrastructure person and the all this Git stuff seems very foreign to you, I always tell people, hey, think about the developers who are developing the latest machine learning algorithm or eyeball tracking code to make sure that you're engaged. Do they really want to learn, think that much about complex, Git configurations? No, they want to check in their code. And just like that, if you're an infrastructure person and this is new to you, you may not be writing code per se. You may be writing scripts. You might be writing documentation, things like that nature. But the main thing you need to do is just know how to check it in, and you can be a fully active, very contributing member of this type of project without advanced Git skills. And again, just learning how to do things through the browser and getting comfortable with that process, you start to really, the process of how I post a new file, how I edit an existing file on a repository, those processes will really start to gel for you. And then later, as you start to get more advanced Git skills, it just gets so much easier to learn the more advanced aspects of Git, as if you kind of crawl, walk, run your path into Git. And so I do encourage people, as you're going through courses, always think about, for multiple reasons, think about how you can, if I see something in this course that looks like it can be better, always look for that. For the selfish reason of, hey, look, every time that you make an edit, right, it's going to show up on your GitHub profile. And I was looking at somebody's GitHub profile yesterday. I was helping me troubleshoot, and they just barely opened their brand new GitHub profile. I don't know if they've used GitHub before, maybe with a different GitHub profile, but just from going through some courses and participating in the courses, they'd already racked up in 27, I think, commits at the time from a few initial courses that they started to go through. And it kind of highlights, you can, by participating, these really get you off to a great start at establishing your reputation on Git and GitHub. If you're going to go and participate in an open source community, if you're an IT worker and you want to demonstrate to your peers and your management that you're actually, show evidence that you're improving your skills and that you have confidence in your skills in this new type of area. If you're a consultant and you want to go to your customer environment and want to understand how to work with them as they work through these type of environments, but also be able to demonstrate your credibility when people start talking about Git, you can know that if people look at your GitHub profile, they're going to see, hey, you've got a bunch of commitments. You've made commits and edits, and you know how this stuff works. You can demonstrate that by showing that you have active GitHub skills. Awesome. Where did I'm trying to see now, just so everybody knows, I have lost my chat bar on my oh, here it comes back. I just wanted to check my chat to see if there's any chat. Okay, I'm good. Thanks, Fake. So there have not been any chats. Okay, good. And do again, feel free to unmute at any point if anybody would like to ask questions, make comments. So again, so you can edit by clicking edit this page, and then I should show what that looks like in the better browser where I'm actually logged in. Ninja. So if I go to a course, we'll pick a course. Let's just pick Modern App Skills 101, launch the course. And again, every page in every course, if you see something you want to edit, you'll be able to click this edit this page button, and it should automatically bring you right into the page where you can edit. In this case, I didn't go to a fork, did I? But that's the experience. I was already logged in as an admin, so it gave me direct editing rights rather than pushing me to a fork, but it'll automatically push you directly into a browser. It'll look just exactly like this. And you just click propose, and then submit. And that's all you need to do to make an edit. It does things that are fancy, like it'll automatically fork a repository for you and can automatically create a pull request for you. And if you know what those are, that's great. As you learn what those are, those will be powerful things to learn about. But more importantly, again, we've had people make, we've had thousands of lines of commit to the community to build and maintain our assets from people who've really been able to come as full participants, and they don't understand forking and pull requests and all that. They understand that they can click on edit and they can do click, 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 and still be very, very active contributors and fully participate in this type of environment through those core skills. And that's the main reason why when you go and you take a course here, the first thing that happens when you take a course or when you register with the community is you open an issue ticket. And when you enroll in a course, you post a new file. When you take a test, you edit a file. Those are the 3 core skills to be a really meaningful, actively contributor in any open source GitHub project. Because, and again, all these projects, they're all just files that exist on a repository. Instruction files, code files, configuration files, right? And to participate in these projects, what we need to do is we need to know how to upload files. We need to know how to edit files. And if we have any questions, we need to know how to do issue tickets. And when you upload the files, when you enroll in the course, you post a new file, right? So you understand that process of how to do a pull request to do a new file. When you take a test, you edit an existing file. So you get that process of, or that experience with knowing how to edit that file. And so once you've taken a test, you will look at that again in a second. But if for those on the call who've already taken a test, you realize when we take a test, it's a page that looks just like this that says, question 1, A, B, C, D, question 2, A, B, C, D, E. But the motion that you do to fill in your test form is the exact same motion that you go through if you want to come in and edit one of the web pages here. And like you can see here, I can see the text right here. Please note there's currently a problem. Let's go back to my course and look, I can see here. Please note there's currently a problem. Going back to where we started here with Modern App Skills 101, having a problem with some of the features that I'm working on. And so again, I started off getting into some of the complex Git rat hole that I landed myself into by not following proper Git best practices. And I wanted to highlight again, as we did talk about how to do local editing, that local editing, like I said, it has some advantages if you edit locally on your local workstation, but there's not a point like, oh, I like, for example, me, I'm pretty good at doing forking and keeping my locally cloned repositories up to date and in sync and making contributions and opening pull requests from my client. I can do that. But even as somebody with a lot of experience doing that, I still use the browser-based method all the time, because for so many things, it's just easier to just come in. I see this page. It's a lot easier for me to just click here, edit it, and submit my edit this way, depending on the nature of the edit. It's really more for certain things. Maybe if I want to make an update to several pages and I want to run a script that can make updates to several different files on my repository. Another one that I like to use my local client for is that I have a plugin in my local VS Code browser that allows me to paste in images instead of, which is one of the things about most web technologies, is that in the web page itself, you don't actually there's no image that exists in a web page, right? It is the web page renders an image in the page, but if you actually look at the HTML, right, it's saying that to render a page, that a file that is saved somewhere. It could be saved on a different site, it could be saved somewhere else in the website. But ultimately, you can't paste an image like you can into a Word document. What you actually have to have is a link to the image with the markup, so that way your web browser knows to populate the image on the page for the reader. So if you look at the text wherever there's an image, you'll see that the HTML or the markdown file underneath the image actually has a link to that. And so I have a local plugin in my VS Code browser that will automatically, when I paste a file for an image from my clipboard, save it in the appropriate spot on the repository, embed the link of the appropriate formatting. So that way the result from that simple cut paste motion is that the image gets inserted into the document in the appropriate place. And so those are some reasons why you might want to edit locally as opposed to editing through the web browser. Okay, so I do want to take a quick look here. So we, as mentioned, so I do have now locally saved a bunch of updates for the modern app skills. And again, I'll get that updated later today to have the full updates for the course all ready to go. And if for any reason it's delayed, I'll send a note out. But again, I'm gonna put every effort possible today, and I fully expect that should be done today. So let me get back into the other things. Spent plenty of time on that because there's a lot of other stuff going on. So one of the things I wanted to highlight today are looking at some of the common maintenance tasks that we need to do with the community. So issue tickets we encourage everybody to open issue tickets when they have problems, and just to make sure everyone's clear on like the order of things to try when you do have a problem. Issue tickets are first. If you need somebody's attention, issue tickets are the preferred way. We have message boards, we have emails, we have a Slack channel, and any of those are fine. But I like to point with issue tickets first because there is tracking around issue tickets. And so while we may not immediately see or address an issue ticket depending on availability, it's not like a Slack message or a discussion board message that can easily get lost and disappeared. There's all types of tracking around these. And so if something comes into an issue ticket queue, we're definitely going to see it and be able to track how we treat it. Whether it gets resolved, properly or not, that we do our best at that. But the more important thing is that this ensures that it's going to be seen and have the option to get to start getting it addressed if you put it in the issue ticket placeholder. Now, I did notice today something that I don't know how I overlooked this. On every course, on every page in every course, you have an open issue ticket link. And the homepage is a different template, and so it's in some ways different, but it should definitely on the homepage have a contact us button, and it doesn't. I just realized that there is actually a contact us button in the template, and I think I must have overrode it at some point or something. And so it is not obvious currently from the homepage how to open an issue ticket. But as soon as you go into a course, every page and every course, and I'm gonna make a note for myself. So let's just do that. I'll make a quick note for myself on the issues. Create a new issue. I'm gonna call this a bug report, and I'm gonna say normally this is technically more of a feature request than a bug report, in a sense, like because we are live today and that feature isn't there, and so it is essentially a new feature. But I'm going to consider this to be a bug because it was an oversight. I don't see this as a new feature that needs to be there. I see this as a critical feature that absolutely definitely should have been there, and so I'm gonna call this a bug, even though that may be a little inappropriate. Everyone might do some of these a little different, and one thing with us is because we are managing content. I consider bugs to be anything like if you go through a course and there's an instruction that is wrong, that would be a bug by our definition. Now, in many cases, when the entire focus of a DevOps project is strictly to build code, as it often is, a bug may be, the word bug may be used exclusively to refer to a problem with code itself. In my case, I've used the word bug in much a similar way, but to refer to a problem with code or content. Whereas a feature request is there is a new thing that needs to be there that isn't currently versus something that is there and is malfunctioning. This is sort of a gray area because it is a new feature, but it's kind of like a bug in the sense that it should already be there. So bug I consider usually higher priority than feature, and so I'll just err on the side of bug for this one. So we'll say that we'll say icon, and I'm going to make this a little sloppy since we're on a call. I don't want to take forever writing it. So contact us, link needed on homepage. And I don't want to be too sloppy, so we'll still start this with, I'm going to start this with a user story, even though it's a bug. Let's just say users, or say users visiting homepage. And we'll abstract this from exactly how we want to implement the capability. And so it should be able to easily find contact or contact. Feedback, and then we'll say proposal is include a contact us. Let's just call this, or just say, let's just call it contact. Link prominently on the homepage that opens, that links to open an issue ticket. Okay, so that's good enough for now. We'll go ahead and let's go ahead. I'm not going to, well, I'm not going to work on this right this second, so I'm not going to assign it. Our standard here is that I don't assign things unless they have been, unless they're actively being worked on. So we're going to put this in queue to actively be worked on. Now, keep in mind, when you are opening an issue, unless you already have a level of permission, a triage level of permission in the community, then you won't have the ability to append labels yourself. You'll see the labels. I'm an admin, right? So I can append labels. So we'll say this is area is the homepage. I'm going to say that the priority is. Let's say I want to call this critical urgent. We'll call that P. I'm going to change the priority names. I think from these descriptions to just be P1, P2, P3, and P4, because I think as a community we want to maybe work those into descriptions that work perfectly for us, whereas I borrowed these from other open source communities. In any case, we'll call this one critical. I think that's a very important issue. And that's all that I want to put on there now. That's good enough. Oh, and I'm going to assign it to this one because call this a bug. We'll put it on the bugs project board, so it'll be in queue to be when we're doing the project planning for the bugs board. And that's good enough for now. Now we have created an issue. Now I have that in queue, and I do want to worry about this soon, but I don't have to worry about this now. And that's a great thing for issue tickets, whether it's a bug, whether it's an idea, whether it's a question, whether it's a feature request. When you think about it, go ahead and enter the issue ticket in. One of the advantages of issue tickets is you may find if you're new to the homepage, you look and you see this, it may look a little bit daunting at first. But the great thing is as you start to gain familiar with GitHub is that you can, there's really, really great filtering of different tickets, whether they're open, whether they're closed, whether it's a particular kind of thing. You know, if I just want to see bugs, I can filter the label very easily, right? If I look at a bug, I can go here and click on the label when I saw it. And now you can see it updated my search string automatically to only show bugs. I can get rid of that if I want to see other things. And so there's really great ability to filter and sort and navigate your way if you need to go through and look for certain items in the issue ticket. I want to see feature requests. I can just click on like that feature label and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, we created a new issue ticket. And now when I'm doing my bug planning later, I can come to my bug Kanban board here, and I can see in my add cards function here that I have 8 new cards that are assigned that I haven't yet triaged. So we're still triaging. Well, and again, there's this idea of a two stages of the triage. The first process is making sure that that a ticket is properly assigned to a category, whether it's a bug or a feature request, and that was an appropriate thing. And then the second phase is like once we know something has already been identified as a bug, on this board, we're going to look at them a little bit more deeply and append additional information and prioritization to the bugs that we see. But rather than scrubbing those right now, just be given the time, when we come back and actually look through prioritizing some more of these bugs. Before we do that, I wanted to look at some of the most common, continue on with this thought of how do we support members of the community. And so one of those is support requests. And so we can see on the homepage that we have a bunch of things here. We can come and review issue tickets here. And one of the nice things is if you want to help support members in the community and keep an eye out when people do have support requests, you want to be able to find those easily. And if you come and look here, you may say, oh, wow, well, a lot of these look like there may already be something. I mean, you may not feel as comfortable trying to read if it looks like somebody's already working on something. And one of the nice things is the by default, when you open up the issue ticket page, it's going to show these in order of most recent. And so you see the newest ones on top, or the most recently modified ones on top. And and this visualization of these labels is really nice, because when somebody opens a new issue ticket, it should have at most, it should generally have one label associated with it. Because when I go and open this new issue, I pick the type of issue, bug, feature. And so when someone opens an issue, even though that user may not be able to add an issue ticket based on or add a label to the issue ticket based on their permission, these templates, each of these templates has a default label that's associated with it. And so there should be one issue ticket. So if you come into issues and you see a issue ticket sitting here that only has one label associated with it, there's a good chance that nobody's reviewed that yet. And for anybody who might like to check that out sometime and keep an eye on it from time to time, or just periodically, just jump, if you happen to just have a whim, see, I wonder if there's anybody who might need a helping hand. You can look in here or looking through the existing things that are here. If you're interested in advancing your skills by taking on some projects, implementing a feature, helping to resolve an issue, always appreciate anyone who might go through the project boards or the issue tickets and see if there's something that they're interested in working on, whether it's something you might want to resolve independently, or reach out to me or Peg or other members of the community, maybe the members discussion board, say, hey, I'm interested in doing this. Anyone want to help or participate? You may see things here that you'd like to do, but you're not really confident that you have the skills to do. And you might want to participate. So you can go in and when you go into these issues, you can follow the issues and you could add a comment. Anyone, please feel free, add a comment to the issue. Hey, I would like to follow this and see if I can help or at least learn from it. Or reach out to myself, or if you see another person who's opened the issue or maybe assigned to the issue, reach out to that person and say, hey, can I follow along with you on this? I'd like to learn how to do this. Or I think I may be able to help, but I'd like to, I don't feel confident to do it myself. Even though I may be able to help, I'd like to do it together as a team as we learn how to do all these new things and get more familiar with the community. On each of the repositories, so every time you go to a course, and from that course front end, you click on that edit page button, it's going to direct you into the repository for the course. And you can also look at the ModernApps.org on GitHub to see all of the different repositories, and you can tell here fairly easily which course is associated with which repository. So we have vSphere with Tanzu 101 here, for example. And I can click in and look to the vSphere Tanzu 101 and go into the issues tickets, and I can see that we have issues here that are outstanding. Already, if you can see here, one that I looked at this one earlier. I didn't fully triage it yet, but we can see here someone reported that there's an incorrect member repository link when registering, and DGlender did a great job. This is, I think DGlender is somebody who definitely has some experience working on GitHub repositories, because they did a very, very thorough job creating this issue ticket. This is just a wonderful example of the issue ticket. Now, I don't want to make it hard for people to create an issue ticket. You don't have to go crazy in worrying about, did I include every single detail under the sun, and did I make it perfect? But for your own benefit, when you're opening an issue ticket, it is very, very common for people to forget to include a really important detail. It's very common for people to open an issue ticket describing all types of problem with a page, but not mention what page, not be clear about what page it was that they encountered the problem with. So you do want to make sure you include, everything that is needed to help the person understand. It doesn't have to be crazy, but this is a great example of an issue ticket. We have a description of the bug, how to reproduce it, and the screenshots, and even on the screenshot, put a nice call out in the screenshot tool to make it clear exactly, like for me or for anybody in the community who might want to come and help resolve this issue. This just makes it so easy to know exactly what they're talking about, exactly where and what have you that I need to do to get this resolved. And so really great job kudos to dglender for a wonderful issue ticket there. And so I'm not going to assign this to myself yet. In some cases, there are a couple courses out there that don't have a full set of labels. I'm still working on that. There's an issue ticket out there, some doing creation that didn't get created properly, and the root cause there's already been addressed, but some of the things that were created without the label sets I need to go through and add. But fortunately, this one has a label set, so we'll go ahead and I'll call this a bug, and we'll give this one. I'm just going to say important soon, other than critical urgent, because this is very close to being critical urgent. But when we go through additional prioritization exercises, when we assign these, we can reevaluate the priority at that time. But for now, I know I have several things in queue ahead of this that edge it out, so I'm going to leave it at the second level of priority. And we know that this is a course, and so I've done some triaging. Now, on the home page, I'm going to put this on. I would put this on a project board. On a member page, you don't have to worry about that yet. I'm still working out some details about how to manage projects. If having the benefit of visualizing tasks with projects boards on an individual repository, but for now, you can just open the issue and not use a project board on an individual repository at this time. And yeah, that's pretty much for looking at that. Now, issue tickets are actually not the most common issue. By far, the number one most common issue are pull requests that don't process automatically because someone made a mistake. And so fortunately, there's some very, very common patterns. When we can go and when you look at any one of the member pages and you see several pull requests in queue, that's indicative of a problem, because in general, these pull requests, now someone may open a pull request anywhere in the repository if they have a new, so if I go to this page, like remember we clicked on edit this page, if I click to edit this page and then submit an edit, that will show up as a pull request that will wait in queue for review. And so if someone makes an edit, submits an edit, I'll see that here as a pull request. That being said, we also, again, have designed course participation to use these same exact processes. And so if somebody enrolls in the course, and so what we see here from Demetrios and Ed and Victor and Cipher, these are all people who have attempted to enroll in the course. And when you enroll in the course, it should process automatically, right? And likewise, we see this one here, test3.yaml. This means that Brian here is actively taking this test right now. The yellow dot indicates that the action to process this pull request, the automated action, is actively running at the moment that this page loaded. My guess is if I refresh this page, that should be cleared out. So let's try that. See, now the test 3 is gone, and we're on to another test 2. Interestingly enough, maybe taking the test out of order. But we can see that you can see when people are actively taking tests and when it's actively processing. And so this is one that I know is automated and it looks like it's working well, and it's going to take care of itself, because when people submit a test or when they enroll in a course, that the process to review and approve those pull requests is automated. But what happened with these ones is that we know in GitHub, we know some, like I just described some changes that we make, we want to process automatically. And some changes that are made, somebody in the same says, hey, I see something on this page, a description of how to do something, I think it can be improved. I'm going to submit that edit. That one that we want to review manually before we click the approve button. And how does GitHub know when something should be processed automatically? Well, in actions, we have the ability to filter. And so if I go to the actions page here, we can see here, I've got several different actions. I've got course registration, building and deploy. So the course registration is only supposed to trigger when someone registers, right? And the Hugo build and deploy, for example, is every time any change is made at all to the repository, this needs to run every single time to make sure that updated HTML gets generated for the site. And then, of course, request complete certificate, et cetera. These should only run when very specific things happen. And so if you want to actually see when you click on the workflows, the actions tab, and on these workflows, you see the runs of the workflow. So these are all instances that have actually run, and I can see this is like a debug output essentially of when this action happened. But if I just want to see the action itself, I can go right to my repository, and I'm in the vSphere Tanzu 101 repository. I click on my .github folder, and here I have a folder called workflows. And in here I can see the actual source text for each of my workflows. And so if I look at something like, let's look at course enrollment. I initially was calling course enrollment course user registration, which is kind of confusing. So some things say user registration here, and I'm referring to course level registration as enrollment to make sure language is clear going forward, but you'll still see some of these. And this is a GitHub action workflow, and using the GitHub action syntax, I can say here that this runs when a pull request is opened. I can say the category is pull request, and I can say open. So when a new pull request is opened, and I can tell it the specific files that might get modified in order to trigger this automation. And so this tells me right off the bat, right here, that in order to trigger this automation, a file needs to be added that is in the static admin user data registered members, which is a wildcard.yaml. So some file that ends in .yaml. Now, if we go back to our pull requests tab, hopefully you'll all see what is wrong with each of these. You can see someone created a file called, in this case, Demetrios 1A 2B, but there's something missing here. And I know it's probably a little late in the call to start being randomly interactive, but is anybody want to unmute or mention in chat? We want to wager a guess why this file may not have processed automatically. No guesses. Okay, so please go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just unmuting so you knew we were still here.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and so again, this looking at the, oh wait, I backed away from, if you remember, we see
the extension.
The extension, exactly, right? So we're in the right directory, we're not registered, but there is no .yaml extension. And so just to show you how common this is, let's look at closed pull requests. And I'm gonna, if there's an easy way, any one of these ones, I don't know how to easily filter the ones I commented on, but if you go through these, you'll find it's, I think I cleared out 10 or 15 of these requests that last day or two. And so it's very, very common. And so that's really great information, because that could mean a couple of things. One is it could mean it gives us great data about our user experience. Do we have the right user experience? Another thing could be, do we have good instructions or make it clear enough about the instructions? And I tend to think the latter. There will be some people that say, hey, you know, when you have new people coming to participate, you want to give them a really elegant experience. And it's frustrating for people when they come and work on a system and they try to follow an instruction and something doesn't go right. And then they stuck waiting for, and that is frustrating, right? And I don't want to deter people from the program, but my belief is that, you know, working with text files a lot, working, you know, when you work on DevOps projects and you work with automated workflows, this is the common thing, right? Is you think about it, when you're building software for some end user, you know, right? That end user somewhere, they're going to go and they're going to, you know, fill out a form on your website to request information about your website, right? And they'll go into some form that the developer wrote. It's very easy and very elegant. And they type in and it says enter your email address. And if they type in their email address wrong, well, it's going to immediately tell them and not let them submit. Now, when you work on developing things, though, you almost never have that level of polish. You still need to have automated things, but to create an automated form that would allow a user to submit their email address is a lot easier than making, and just a lot less time consuming than making a super polished form that has input masks and detailed controls and automated actions. So when someone inputs the form, it automatically figures out if anything's wrong. Yeah, that's a wonderful thing. And if you're working on a DevOps project, maybe you're building something for some end user somewhere that'll have that level of polish. But when we're the developers and administrators of a DevOps project, we've got to be able to adjust our automations on the fly as needed. And so we can still get the benefit of having really powerful automations with one little idiosyncrasy. We don't have some of those levels of polish. And so one of the big things that you need to get used to is that generally working with text, you're not going to have to do something that is crazy and complex and foreign to you without a lot of support around, right? But you do need to, you know, learn to pay attention to the little details like that. Like in these instructions, it's already pretty clear to put the .yaml. And one thing that I know from my own experience is that I forget little things like that in instructions all the time. I overlook little details like that in instructions all the time. And when I do, and I realize that, it's frustrating, but I learn well. And I've experienced is like when people who come from a backgrounds in particular where they've used a lot of GUIs and point and click, and they start to work in environments where they have more text files, as you absolutely need to have if you're doing any type of infrastructure as code or automated stuff, right? Is that they just don't feel comfortable with it. They get, and myself, I've been in this boat a lot. I get consumed with the idea, oh, if I enter a letter wrong, it could create a problem. It's also true if you click on wrong thing in a mouse, it could create a problem as well, right? And I think it's one of those things that you need to just gain a comfort level with. Is like, okay, this is an environment that's well supported. The instructions are usually very clear. If you follow them very clearly, you usually figure out sometimes there's going to be slips and you're overlook something and you're going to think you followed the instructions. And maybe even if it's in the instruction, we've all been there, we just didn't look at the instruction properly. And that became a little point of a frustration. But this is how it's going to work. This is why why it is valuable experience, because it is like working on a DevOps project. When you go and work on an open source project that you're contributing to, when you're working on a commercial project that might be private when your company, if you submit something and a letter is wrong, then it's not going to work right. And you're going to have to work with your team of GitHub people or get version control and get administrators and DevOps people to correct that. And in most cases, it's going to be something super simple, well documented, well understood, and you just get used to it. It's important. You gain that comfort to be like, oh, okay, well, every time I did something, even though sometimes it was a little frustrating, there was always a rational answer, right? And for each of this is a lot more work for me. This is a lot more work for potentially members, administrators of the community, potentially to make this. We could say, it's harder for the user a little bit potentially to learn this. It's important. And for me, I would rather devote my time, oftentimes as I am up at 1 o'clock in the morning, typing the same note over and over again to random people who are participating in the community, because I think that's valuable for them. And some people may not like it. And I'm not closed to the idea of adjusting some of these practices, but I think more and more, by and large, most people really benefit from this methodology, and also from just seeing we're here to take the time to communicate back with you and to have one-on-one conversations to help coach you into this new world. Because little things like this, once you've registered for one course, enrolled in one course, once this has happened to you one time and you figure your way through it, it's not, you're going to remember, and you're going to be better off for it. And so I'll go through all of these. I know we're at the top of the hour, and I'll just append a little note to each of these users, just letting them know, hey, if you resubmit your ticket, you did everything right. If you do it again and add the .yaml, then it'll work for you. And as I've done dozens of times you can see we've had about 448 just on this one course, 448 closed pull requests. Most of those have worked right the first time, but there's been, a good percentage, probably a dozen or two in there that I've reached out to personally, and everyone I think was able to very easily understand the instruction. And another great thing about this data is we're seeing the very common things, and so we can work towards automations that can help to resolve these most common issues automatically. So with time, we'll do that. I've also opened an issue ticket on the homepage as an interim to improve the instructions. So that way, when somebody goes through, opens this, and they see it may not process right away, they'll have a link there to FAQs in the interim until we can provide an automated. So that I opened a pull request so we can add some additional handling to help improve the user experience here for these types of common user requests, and so, or user problems that users are running into. And so I think that's a great, hopefully, example of the purpose of the call, right? Regardless of whether you're supporting content developers, this being able to see this side of the system, both on this call and again, everyone is welcome to actively participate. We're going to have more and more learning content. Modern App Skills 101 is, like I said, we're finishing that today. That's going to provide instructions how to do some of this. I'm going to work on a Modern App Skills 201, 301, et cetera. That'll provide detailed instructions and rewards for participating in these type of activities. And the last thing I want to mention, I forgot down to the last second on the events. I mentioned there was going to be a hackathon possibly as soon as this week. I did have to push it out, but if you check out pushing it out next Friday, I will be out. I'm taking the day off to visit family. The Friday after that, we're going to do a hackathon. We're going to look at some new content, and anybody who opens an issue ticket, report an issue, or submits improvements to some of the new content we're going to be validating, will be able to get a digital badge. So definitely check out Modern Apps Ninja events page, and you can see all of the upcoming SRE live events and the hackathon. And I spoke to the last minute again. I apologize for not leaving a little more time for Q&A. And if anybody needs to drop, thank you so much for joining. Anybody does have any questions, I will hang on the line and stick around for some additional questions.
Thanks a lot, Art. You have a good weekend.
Thanks, Peg. Have a great weekend.
Hey, Art, I had a question. Where are the